fans? I am Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I am joined by a former champ in this MMA industry of ours. He made a successful UFC debut in March against Ray Borg on just a week's notice, and returns to the cage against, again, August 17th at UFC 241 against the unbeaten bantamweight Manny Bermudez. That man is former LFA 2 division champion Kenney. Casey, thanks for giving me some time so close to this pretty pivotal fight you got coming up in a couple weeks.
Oh, of course, man. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Like you said, champ coming off the Ray Borg fight. The confidence is high.
Now I want to talk about that whole scenario. Now, what you did at UFC on ESPN2 really is pretty amazing. I mean, it really can't be understated to go from a title fight in LFA, arguably the best promotion when it comes to like that next tier after like the major promotions, and then to go into a fight in the UFC 8 days later against a guy in Ray Borg, to beat a guy like Ray Borg, who's a very talented fighter, a former flyweight number contender. Looking back now, do you even kind of think like, damn, those 8 days were pretty freaking crazy?
Yeah, I think it hit me like a week or two after it all went down, and I still think about it. It's like I don't think I'll ever be able to do that again. Just the whole situation, the opportunity. Not many get to experience that back-to-back weekends. I'd do it, but I don't know if I'll ever fight back-to-back weekends again too. So that may be once in a lifetime opportunity, and I passed all the tests, and that was the main thing.
Is it kind of thing like I'm getting near 30 now. I'm closing out there. I can't do this back-to-back weekend thing anymore. It's getting ridiculous.
Dude, I was just thinking, man, after this one, I want to get right back in there. I had a little bit of a break, pull the Cowboy Cerrone style. So I still feel young, man. I still feel like I'm a young 20-year-old. So, super young still. But you're right. Approaching 30, may have to back off eventually.
Was there ever like any hesitation in the decision to take that fight? We know being a champion in LFA means you're going to get to UFC at some point eventually, or even like some kind of opportunity. And you had even more prestige and interest on your name in particular because, like we just talked about, you were a champ, 2-division champion for the company. Was there a point where you or your manager felt like, what, this is a little bit too risky? He's a really good opponent. It's only a few days' notice. You are a top prospect in the sport. Let's just wait. Or because you were on the Contender Series twice, was it kind of thing like, look, 3 times the charm, I can't pass on another opportunity with the UFC, I have to take this?
Oh yeah, there's no questions about it. I mean, pretty much all odds were against me. I had ice cream, that weekend.
Nice.
I had a fresh cut over my eye. The coach that had been with me for 18 fights couldn't make it. I had a small tear in my knee. Everything was that I could have made excuses for was there, but there was no question in my mind. I called my coach up and I was like, I'm going one way or the other. So there was no doubt in my mind, like even if things were worse, I was going no matter what.
For many fighters, when they go into the UFC, there's always, they talk about the UFC jitters, the octagon jitters. There's always the thought of when you get in there, start really going at it, you have that adrenaline dump. Some people have that. But for you, when you're in there, Bruce Buffer's given the introduction of you and stuff like that, just a few days after you just get an introduction to LFA, was it almost easier that it was almost like a chaotic, fast-paced, wild week that it almost didn't give you time to really kind of sit and think about it? Did that even make it easier so you could go in there and perform as well as you do, despite, the knee injury you said, the coach is there, you performed very well against a really good fighter.
Right. I think that's one thing that I pride myself on is I'm going to show up, no matter what's going on, no matter the circumstances. And I think it may have been a little bit easier. I didn't have time to process it all. It just was there. I was getting last minute medicals. And, before I knew it, like you said, Bruce Buffer was announcing my name. It was in that moment I actually kind of had to snap back to reality a little bit. I was like kind of fanboying out when Bruce Buffer was announcing my name. It was like, all right, we got to do some work.
That was good because I was watching the fight earlier. You had a fantastic poker face. You didn't show it, but does it get surreal? I know you on the Contender Series, and that's a big deal too, and that has a big moment. But when you're in that cage, and he's saying, how can you not be a fanboy? Is it a really surreal moment? Is it hard to kind of snap back?
Yeah, it wasn't too hard. I knew what I was there to do, and the kind of way my career went, I felt like that fight was a little easier than the last like eight, because the
Mm.
last 8 fights or so had been, all right, I got to win this one to get in. I got to win this one to get in. I got to win this one to get in, and I think that was a little tougher than, just go perform, just go be you. You're here now. You're fighting a guy who you're not supposed to beat. That makes it easier sometimes. Is kind of being the underdog for the fight. All the fights leading up to that, I was constantly supposed to win, constantly supposed to get this spectacular finish to get in. And now I was in there against Ray Borg. I was supposed to technically lose. 5 days
Yeah.
notice, a guy fought for the title last. So that made it a little bit easier having my being on that end of the spectrum versus supposed to win type of thing.
And I was rewatching the fight because I was there in Philly, and you got a rough reaction from the crowd when you won. A lot of people were didn't agree with the decision, despite all of that, despite
Right.
the boos and stuff like that. Is it still, considering all the things you just mentioned, like knee injury, coaches, 5 days notice? Is it still a pinnacle moment in your fighting career, despite the Philly fans being pretty rough?
Oh yeah, they can do what they want. I think I had my back against me there. With Borg's story and all that. I know they played
Mm.
that for the
Mm-hmm.
crowd, and if you go back and watch the fight, he had some good takedowns, some double legs, but other than that, in the sport of mixed martial arts, I dominated the striking. I dominated the control. He never controlled me on the ground. So I can live with that. I'm comfortable with that decision, and I'm gonna move on from it, but I can't let him steal my moment. I feel like I'm going to be one of the best to ever grace the
Mm.
octagon. And, that was the time I came in and I marked my territory, to let everybody know I was there. And, no matter what the fans say, I did that and I passed all the tests. So, I'm here, and I'm looking to be here for a long
Now,
time.
speaking of your next test at UFC 241, things won't get any easier for you, as you will now face, a guy that was looked at as maybe one of the top bantamweights in the world last year before he got into the UFC, and Manny Bermudez. Your careers started around the same time you started, a little bit before, maybe about 6 months or so. Did you hear about him over the last few years as you were working your way up through the industry, eventually to the UFC, and ever look at him and go, yeah, that might be a guy somewhere someday, fairly maybe late, sooner than later, I'm probably gonna have to fight him?
I think I first heard of him when he fought in his last fight, Benito
Mm.
Lopez in Phoenix. One, I was there in Phoenix, and two, uh, that was when I kind of started looking at the bantamweight division type of thing. Because I've been a flyweight for a long
Mm-hmm.
time, but I think he's a really good submission specialist, but to be considered one of the best, bantamweights all around in the UFC, I think he may be a little behind there. So we'll find out August 17th. But I think he's a great submission guy, but we'll see how his overall game
And I'm
is.
glad you brought up this the submissions, because that perfectly transitions into the next question. So kudos to you. Good job by you by co-hosting this situation. And he has 8 submissions in his 11 wins. He's unbeaten 11-0, like I mentioned. Yeah, he everybody at this point knows this is what's going to happen. He's going to try to get you down. He's going to try to submit you, and somehow he's still able to do it, and do it fairly quickly. He's got first round submission, his UFC debut, first round submission. When studying him with your team, what do you see that makes him such a difficult guy to keep on the feet and stay out of trouble when you get to the ground?
I think it's just small little mistakes these guys are
Mm.
making. Nothing. He does a good job of setting stuff up and transitioning from one submission to the next, which can be hard to deal with. But you know who is he really submitted? I mean, he's got 14 of them. But or however many submissions. But the last three guys in the UFC, I feel like their jiu-jitsu is okay. It's not bad, but they just made little mistakes. They were doing great for most of the
Mm.
time, and then they made a little mistake, which that's the name of the game. And I've been grappling for a long, long time, and that's my world too. So don't make that little mistake. That's really the name of the game, and that's a game I've been playing for a long time.
And that's the thing, Ray Borg, yeah, got you down, but your scrambling's fantastic in that fight. So, because of the confidence you have in your grappling, because it is very good, that's where you come from. Did going into this camp, do you did you do anything different in terms of, training partners or maybe visiting other gyms just to get different looks? Or are you confident in what you have in your team already and what you have personally, that you were just mainly about making sure I don't make the mistakes other guys made and keep my skills sharp?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much keep everything sharp. I like to focus on what I'm going to do, not necessarily what they're going to do. Obviously, I got to address some of their strong suits, but, uh, work on the basic submission defense. I got a great team between Rise Combat Sports and the MMA Lab. I got plenty of training partners, plenty of looks. And then I also did take a trip to Vegas last week to train with a former teammate of mine, Kyle Reyes. Okay. I think he's got like 10 guillotine wins as a professional, something like that. So, I went to hang out with him, get a different look. He's a big 35er, so it was a perfect look for me, and he had a few buddies with him as well. So I took a little trip to Vegas and did that, which, isn't out of the ordinary. I like to kind of just switch it up, at least for a couple training sessions, sometime during the camp.
As much as he will be a difficult problem to solve for you, a case could definitely be made. This is by far the toughest opponent he's faced yet. What attributes do you feel you have that can make this a very long night for Mr. Bermudez on August 17th?
Right. I mean, one, my speed, I think he's just going to be a little too slow. Once he feels the speed, the power, the accuracy, I think he's going to, try to shoot in pretty quick. And then that's where, my takedown defense, shoot my takedowns, I'm not going to be scared to grapple with him. He wants to exchange a little bit. Let's go. I think just being me and controlling the positions and, like I said, not making that little mistake.
So do you want to go as far as call the shot now? Are we going to go with first, second round knockout?
I'm gonna put him away. I won't call around, but we're gonna go 1, 2, or 3. I'm gonna put him away. I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna light him up, and if he goes down quick, so be it. If he wants to go in deep waters, I'm gonna drown him.
So how big of a difference is it gonna be for you to get a legitimate full camp for this? I mean, do you feel, and plus I didn't know about the knee injury. I didn't know about the coaches not being there like we talked about. Do you feel that you just beat Ray Book? Do you think the UFC fans that maybe aren't familiar with you, didn't watch you in LFA enough, are they going to see an even better version of the guy they saw because of the full camp, because you may be able to heal up the leg? Are we looking for an even better Casey Kenney on the 17th?
Oh yeah, of course, man. I think I came out the gate against Ray Borg, and I was looking to put on an exciting striking display, and I kind of got sucked into the grappling exchange, and I think I'm going to control the fight, where it goes a lot more in this one, and they're going to get to see a complete Casey Kenney, not just a grappler with a little bit of strikes. I think you're going to see a full, complete mixed martial artist, and I'm going to get to open up a little bit.
I mentioned earlier, of course, we talked about champ, and for people maybe not aware, you are bantamweight and flyweight champion, and you just mentioned you were flyweight for a long time. You're competing at bantamweight for this fight. Is there a thought to maybe flyweight again? Because bantamweight is a tough division. It's very deep. It's hard to make headway in it because of the talent. While flyweight, while it doesn't seem like it's going away like many of us thought it might, it's an opportunity. It's a division begging for someone to jump up quickly and be the face of the division with Cejudo and stuff like that. Is there a thought to go back to flyweight, or are you kind of getting to the point at 28 that you're like, I'm kind of growing out of this division. It's hard to make the cuts. I'm really a bantamweight now.
Right. And yeah, definitely. It's something that I was already thinking about, before everything went down, before I got signed as a bantamweight, before, the flyweight stuff. But I like the transition. I'm sitting about 10 pounds heavier than I normally am in camp, and I feel like I'm a complete bantamweight now, flyweight maybe, but it'd have to be a lot of money or the right person to get me back down there. And you mentioned bantamweight being a tough division, a deep division. That's something I want to be a part of. I want to be one of the best fighters in the world. Nothing wrong with flyweight. It was my home for a long time, but I feel like there's a lot more excitement. There's a lot more clout behind the bantamweight division right now, and that's what I want to be on top of.
So what is the difference for you when you're say it's fight week, or how much weight are you cutting when you're competing at flyweight, and then how much weight are you cutting fight week when you're at bantamweight? What is the differences between the two?
I think the amount of weight I cut fight week is going to be about the same, which is around like 10, 12 pounds. But just the fact that I haven't dieted an extra 10 pounds basically. Normally right now I'm not sitting with a whole lot of body fat either. So, I think when I made the cut to flyweight, I was, letting go some of my muscle and stuff, making the cut down, sucking down on minimal calories and, that type of thing. Now I'm eating, eating enough or the amount I should for the amount I'm putting out. And, I think this is my weight class, man.
And what's fascinating is when I've talked to so many fighters, the misconception I think for a lot of people that maybe aren't on the in or there's fans is that you're in a weight class, you can lift weights and you get bigger, stronger. Is it really not about adding muscle, and it's more so like you said, you're almost losing muscle because it's about diet? Are you're maybe getting to eat more carbs now? I talked to Sarah Carper. She was talking about more carbs, more protein. She was getting able to eat more in general instead of like I talked to Leo Machida. He talked about instead of like 3 meals a day, he was up to 5 meals a day. Like heavyweight, is it simply just diet, eating more, and frankly just enjoying life more?
Yeah, really, that's all it's been is just getting the right nutrition, keeping the carbs. Not eating 1,200 calories a day when you're burning like 3,000. You know what I mean? That deficit it wears on you. Now I can eat 3,000 calories a day, and burn 3,000. Or however many it is, just throwing a random number out there. But cutting the flyweight, you're down to minimal calories a day, or no, very little carbs. So you're basically just want to say starving your body. And, that's kind of what you're doing. But it's something that I've done for a long time, and I know I can do it. But I'm really liking this bantamweight cut.
What do you get to eat now that you couldn't at flyweight? That it's just fantastic that you could finally get to eat it more often now.
Mainly like carbs, like good carbs, potatoes, rice, some breads, that type of stuff. A lot more red meat. Eating more steak, that type of stuff versus the lean turkey, chicken, fish type of thing. I still get all that stuff in, but I throw in all the other stuff now too.
So since joining the promotion, have you noticed like an uptick in like social media followers? Are people maybe noticing you more in public? Are folks like me wanting your time for conversation? Have you noticed a difference in the short time since you've now officially been a UFC fighter at all?
Yeah, the social media has definitely taken off a little bit. I got to go back to my county fair, my hometown, and do my first like meet and greet. So that was pretty cool. Felt like a little hometown superstar. But other than that, nothing too crazy. Every now and then, somebody from around the area will notice. Normally someone I know through the grapevine type of thing. But I can feel it starting to take off, and I think this is going to be a big one.
And what's that like? Is that an awkward, uncomfortable experience? Is it something you've always been looking forward to? Someone to go, oh, okay, it's again. Is it something you like, or it's like, don't bother me in public?
It's part of the job, I guess. I know what I signed up for, and people are just out to have a good time and support you. And I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to the homeless man or the the richest guy in the world. So. No matter what's going on, I'll try to give you the time of day.
And I'm appreciating you talk to anybody because you're talking to me. I appreciate that. Appreciate the conversation. Now, I always like to end interviews asking about fighters. What's some of the things they like to do away from fighting? A lot of fighters, different things. I've heard shooting guns. I've heard hunting, fishing. I've heard nature walks, cooking, video games, comic books. What is something Casey Kenney loves to do that has nothing to do with fighting that your fans, your ever-growing fan base, may go, oh, what? He likes that? I didn't expect that.
Dude, I guess the normal stuff. I like to go out, have a good time, get the nature walks in. Arizona's got some beautiful landscape. I like to go check out the beach when I can. Pretty normal guy. Nothing too crazy, man. Fighting consumes my life right now, and I'm enjoying it. So, nothing too crazy for me. Just the normal stuff. Go out, have a good time, eat some good food, that type of thing.
So there's no TV show you're binge watching, like, oh, I gotta watch it. Oh, there's a movie out there, like, oh, I can't wait to see this movie. Nothing like that.
Nothing too crazy. Actually, I did go see The Lion King, man.
How was that?
It was good. It was good. I went and saw The Lion King, dude. It's been a little while since I took a trip to the movie theater. Not one of my things I normally do, but I took a trip to the movie theater. Had to check out Lion
Well, what, were you one of the near 3 billion earning people that went to go see Avengers Endgame?
I didn't. I did not.
Oh
I know. I heard. I heard. I
wow!
missed it. I heard. I missed it.
We can't be friends, Casey. We just can't be friends.